why not? It's 2 o'clock on the dot, Eddie. Why don't we go ahead and start? And what we'll do is we'll start with, if you can do sort of a short presentation at the beginning, and then we'll, as more and more people get on the call, we can field more questions.
Let's do it. Okay, so thank you guys for joining. Appreciate your time. I wanted to talk about the 60-minute course that I just did. I felt like I had really 2 courses that I could have completed, but I didn't want to give too much information. I already felt it was kind of hefty to begin with. So my intention in creating the course wasn't necessarily to, get people to work frantically and just finish music. I wanted people to get better and to be faster. That was kind of the main thing. And so I introduced a lot of different tools that I felt could really help you. I just did a song for a publisher, a song called Forever in Foreverland. And it took me 60 minutes just to generate the idea, bring in different loops, find the right samples. Once I thought, this is what it's going to be, this is what it's going to sound like, the song was okay, but then I mixed it. And then after I mixed it, I found, so that's now 120 minutes in, right? The system isn't always going to work, because sometimes you're not going to find the right kick or the right, in the case of this song, what took me the longest was finding the proper vocal sample. And it was like kind of like Major Lazer kind of vocal. So, those things can be rather tricky to get these kinds of sounds to sit right in a mix. And so the 60-minute technique, was really designed just to help you write better and faster. I'm not interested in getting people's music and it just sounds like a bunch of, loops thrown together on a DAW. Like, I'm interested in craftsmanship and technique. So I believe that 80% of creating tracks revolves around 20% of the actions that we always do. You've heard the old phrase, repetition is the mother of genius. So most of the time we're doing a lot of the same things. We're choosing a lot of the same reverbs. We're choosing a lot of the same EQs. These are things that we're constantly doing. So if it is true that 20% of our actions make up 80% of the activity or productivity that we achieve, then these things should be automated. For example, if you're always if you're always instantiating an EQ and you're always rolling off 50 hertz, then why don't you save that as a default, right? If it seems to be that 9 out of 10 times you're doing this, you might as well have it be autonomous. So this is one small example in the course of an entire music making project that can save you some time. What else? If you have any examples, let me know. And still talking about Zoom.
When did you sort of come up with this concept of writing a track in 60 minutes? I know you've been doing this for 4 or 5 years, and yeah. Is it true to say, did I read that you have over 10,000 placements at this point?
Yeah. You got to remember that it's exponential. So, yeah. The first year it was only like whatever, 100, 200, right? Then the second year became like in the 1,000, 2,000 mark, then 5,000. And so now I'm at a point where it's just happening all over the place and all the time. I mean, every day I'm probably getting a placement right now. And that's just because all the seeds have been spread out, which actually leads me to, did I answer your question? I did, right?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I'm not sure specifically, but my question was, when did you realize that you need to create tracks this quickly in order to be competitive?
Well, you got to remember, when I had my old job and I was transitioning into this work full time, I didn't have the luxury of time. I still had to work and I had to figure out a way to put it all together. And I realized, after not sleeping for a couple of years, and when I say not sleeping, I mean sleeping very little. Sometimes I did not actually sleep. I realized that wasn't good for myself, for my family, my health. And I thought, I need to come up with something that's going to help me achieve the goals that I need to achieve, and yet allow me to live and be a sane human being, right? I was drinking 8 cups of coffee, it was getting out of hand. And so I needed to come up with a system that was going to allow me to be effective and yet, stand out. Because, as I said, if I turn in crap, who cares, right? That doesn't matter. It's not starting and finishing something. It's starting and finishing something that is worthy of the job. And then, of course, you have to meet the deadline as well. So if they wanted it Sunday night and you turned it in Monday morning, that doesn't count, right? They needed it Sunday night for a reason. This is why they're asking. Maybe they take all the files and prepare all the metadata so they can deliver to their clients on Monday morning. So it just by necessity, it's an aggressive industry. And if you really want to make it and you want to do this full time, then you have to work fast. It needs to happen. Why do you have to learn it? I wrote myself something kind of tying into what you're just saying. So why do you have to do this? You have to do it because you have to build your catalog. If it's one problem that I see with all the clients that I work with, consultations, it's that people need more music. I had a consultation last week, and this gentleman had 5 songs in his catalog. And I thought, you see this too, right, Aaron? This is something, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought, look, man, I want to help you, but with 5 songs in your catalog, you're going to, for lack of a better phrase, blow your load right away. And so if you have the tools, which we all do now, laptop, good DAW, most stock instruments sound really good if you know how to use them. And so building a catalog is imperative. No one, in my opinion, is going to do with 5, 6, 7 songs. You're going to have to beef up your catalog if you want to spread 10 songs to this publisher, 20 songs to that brief. Excuse me. Sometimes I'll send out 30 songs and I'll get 5 selected, So just want to make sure I throw that out there, because it's just I'm seeing it too much, and I really want to help people. So beef up your catalogs, please.
How many songs, Eddie, do you write in a typical week? What is a typical week of composing?
My record has been 25 songs in a week, and I'm talking about good quality, not just whatever stuff. Yeah, that seems to be like the limit as far as quantity, quality. I'm sure you can do more if you have a strong writing team, you got the right pieces in place, but that's where I capped off, is 25 a week. So we were doing about 100 songs a month. Wow,
it's an amazing amount of songs. Do you feel like maybe a lot of artists are still sort of stuck in this mentality of, back in the day, artists would release maybe one album a year, right? Or one album every couple of years. You see a lot of touring artists where they'll put out one album with 10 songs and then wait, tour for 3 years and then release another album. So it's like there's been this incredible shift, especially in the context of licensing. Do you feel like maybe that's part of the problem, Eddie, is that a lot of artists are just sort of stuck in this old school mentality?
You know what, Aaron? It always goes back to consumer habits. If people start doing something, whatever it is, watching television on 1080p, having flip phones, whatever the case may be, and you want them to switch over to the next paradigm, it's going to take time, it's going to take effort. And so as creatives, we're definitely switching over, there is this sense that that's not working anymore, right? It's not going to work as a whole. And so, yeah, I absolutely agree that we're all changing our in our case, musical habits rather than consumer habits. And with the technology that we have, it's right there. It's readily accessible. Anybody can do it. In my opinion, even if you don't have any musical theory background, It helps. Please learn it. Even if you don't have any connections in the industry, it helps. Please gather connections. You absolutely can achieve this. It's right here in front of us. All the information is there. I mean, anybody can go on YouTube, type in music tech help guy and learn Logic, like in a couple weeks if they really wanted to. So, yeah, man, it's a great thing. The age that we live in. I'm sorry. Go ahead though.
No, let's do this, Eddie. I'm reading some of the questions on
Okay.
the chat box. Why don't we start diving into these? Sim, for example, had a question about the 100 songs a month. His question was, are those all solo writing or are those co-writing tracks as well? That's a good question. Are you writing these all by yourself? Are you collaborating with other artists?
Right. So yeah, for that specific record or PR personal record, I had an assembly line in place that was for Born This Way season 3. So I'd have, a couple people writing demos, and I'd have them zip it up, package it properly, send it over to me, and then I would work on them, and then I would complete them. Now, when I say a demo, I mean anything from just a basic theme to, kind of a bare bones demo. So that was the case with that specific project, because I needed volume. That music supervisor wanted a lot of songs. In fact, he wanted 2 songs a day. I was able to go above and beyond for that specific publisher. But so that was that project.
Okay, got you. So it varies from project to project.
Right.
Here's another question. A question about using, this is from Presto Music Company, a question about using loops. How much is it okay to use them? It almost feels like cheating at times, but great for inspiration. Is it okay to use with modifications like effects, chopping, etc.? What do you say about that?
Okay, well, there's 2 things to think about. Number one, there's a lot of people that have access to those loops, right? And let's say you are a whiz at editing. You really know how to mangle things. Your editing skills are refined. Then yeah, you can definitely be creative and be original. So just number one, there are a lot of people that have access to those loops. So if you use Logic, for example, it comes with 25,000 loops. So the likelihood of you, having a loop that somebody else is using is pretty high. I mean, it's going to happen sooner rather than later. In fact, I just heard a song on YouTube, and it was a techno song that somebody sent me, and there was a Logic loop on it. So there, after a while, you start to hear the loops if you listen hard enough on advertisements or commercials. But the second thing that's even more important than that is, look, no one is going to teach you how to be you and how to express yourself if you don't have a musical theory background. And this is something that doesn't call you, like you're not interested in it, or quite frankly, you're just not too good at it, then do what you're good at, and excel and shine at what you're good at. Because I think it's the artistry that will ultimately come through. Like, people will respect and appreciate how good you are at what you do. So I would rather see the latter, even if you use loops, even if you use samples, than, somebody who's using music theory, but it's just, like generic. So, and one thing I do want to note, I had this fantastic section on sampling and loops that I wanted to use for the 60-minute course, but I'm going to have to create an additional segment on that because it was just too concentrated. There was too much information. So if you want more help with that, I will gladly help you. I forgot who asked that, but there's a lot that we can do to make your loops sound original. And if you haven't checked out Arcade yet, you might want to, because you can actually drag your own loops, or you can drag an Apple loops. It's quite fantastic.
I have a question for you, Eddie. How do you approach writing music on spec versus writing just what you feel inspired to write? Do you feel like the outcome is completely different? Do you feel like they're equally as creative? How do you sort of approach
Man,
it?
I don't think I've written anything on my own. When you say like by my own inspiration or what have you, I don't think I've done anything in years. I can't remember the last time that I wrote something. I've been working for years now. You understand? Like, and by the way, when I say working, I really mean playing. Like, I can't distinguish the difference between. I guess the only difference would be that I have a deadline and I have to meet it. But besides that, I've enjoyed it thoroughly from beginning to end. I don't even feel stressed when the deadline comes because it's like, dude, you're doing music. Like, what is there to complain about? Or so, yeah, I haven't done anything original or by my own, like. You know what I'm saying? I haven't done anything on my own in a long time.
Do you miss that? Is there a part of you that wants to get back to that at some point?
I mean, you got to remember, dude. Like, I love music.
You
Like,
just love it in general.
I think people really, they don't get my angle. Like, I am in love with it. Like, I am not interested in doing other things. Like I told you before we started talking. Like, it's actually when I'm not with it that I feel weird. Like. I just enjoy making it. I enjoy editing vocals. I enjoy tuning vocals. I'm producing an EP right now for an artist in San Francisco. Anything in the world of sound, sonics, technology, I just want to be around it.
Well, that's good to hear. Let me ask you this question. And by the way, guys, feel free to ask more questions in the chat box. There's a slight delay, so we might not get to them right away, but feel free to ask more questions and we'll address them as we go. What advice would you give to artists that are different in the sense, for example, I did a podcast a couple weeks ago with an artist named Kelly Party Cooper, and he's had music in True Blood and Sons of Anarchy and all these different TV shows. But one of the things he said in the podcast that was really interesting to me, Eddie, is that he can't write. Like he can only write what he feels inspired to write. And whenever he's tried to write for specific jobs and specific briefs, he fails miserably, sort of in his own words. What advice would you give to artists like that? Because I feel like you're in kind of a unique category in that you're able to do this. You're able to crank out these tracks for very specific projects, which is what a lot of licensing is. But what if you're not that kind of artist and you just want to write songs? Do you have any advice in terms of how to navigate the licensing waters?
Okay. Let's make sure I'm answering you clearly. Okay. So I just want to preface the answer with this. I absolutely love music. And my first intention was, how can I do this full time? Like, that was number one. I didn't care if I was an artist. I didn't care if I was a licensing guy, if I did commercials, if I did TV. I could care less. I got to be honest. I just love the music making process, and it has to be profitable for me. It's an absolute must that money comes in, as money to me is the indicator of value, right? It's how we show value in the world. It's not the only, sense of value, but for me, they were tied. It had to be full time, and I had to make money doing it. How it happened, now I'm starting to perform. I'm being paid to perform. So that's cool. As long as there's money there and as long as I get, to do what I love, gladly. I just didn't want to perform at a bar for free. That was the thing. I didn't want to go perform at some guy's party or, a house party and then nothing, right? You spent 6 hours of your life preparing the set, preparing all the equipment, getting to the show, driving, gas, how it is, man. So to answer your question, if you are an artist and you want to make your music, follow your heart. That's number one. You guys got to remember, this is how I got into the industry. I was doing my thing as an artist. I played residencies. I played that House of Blues. Rest in peace, House of Blues. I played, a bunch of different places, and so that was my in to the industry. In fact, it carried me over like for years. Like, that catalog is still making me money to this day. If you guys type in Eddie Gray on iTunes, you'll see a bunch of music from that era, and now it's been distributed, all over the world. So the important thing is that you follow your heart and that you do what you want to do. Just because, you know, I needed and I was obsessed and I needed to do it full time doesn't mean that your journey is going to look like mine. Like maybe you will be an artist that writes songs for other people. Maybe you'll be a headliner. Like whatever it takes. I just the fundamental thing is you need to have money to make money. That's just the bottom line. You guys want to scale this, you guys want to be big time, which you should want to, in my opinion. So you can do it at the highest level. So you can have the best instruments. So you can have the best computers, 4 terabyte SSDs, you know, $500 plugins by Omnisphere, Spectrasonics, and you know, God knows all the fantastic technology out there. So follow your heart. It's number one.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, one of the sort of takeaways I got from the podcast with Kelly and all the podcasts and work I've done with you is that no matter what kind of genre you fall into, no matter where you are in the grand scheme of things, the one thing that's true across the board is the more songs you have, the more money you'll probably make, or the more money you'll potentially make. So maybe not all of us can do 25 songs a week or 1,000 songs a year, but you could probably write 100 songs a year, right? So it just seems like that's a good sort of general takeaway.
Dude, I mean, I literally had a client reach out to me and say, hey, do you have 40 action tension songs? Now, this is a very common genre in our world. You know, tension music, It's everywhere. I had 40 songs sitting in my catalog and I got paid 10 grand. You know, it's a no-brainer. Like, have a nice catalog, whether it's collaborations, just your own music, you know, and you can use these songs as assets to make you money over time and to multiply your income stream over time as well, because those songs also, you know, I was able to get some back-end money as well. And so you
sold those 40 tracks for
I sold the license to use the 40 tracks. They just use them for a project.
Who did you sell them to?
Sorry, I can't tell you.
Okay, what type of?
Oh, the usage, education. I sold them to a media platform that allows schools to use music, and then they get a percentage off those profits. So students are going on to several sites and they're paying, you know, 50 cents, 99 cents to use this song, this sound effect, and yeah, it was a great deal.
Cool. And then didn't you also say that you recently sold part of your catalog for
50%?
So you sold 50% of your catalog for 20 grand? Was that the?
Yeah, but what I sold specifically was the licensing rights to the catalog. So the songs are still mine, still in my catalog. I can still pitch them, but now they've built up like a strong presence in the back end market, and so they have enough value where investors were interested in doing a deal with me, and so that money put my daughter through school, man, through her last year of school.
Do you still get performance royalties for those tracks, or do you give up?
I do, but 50%.
Okay.
I sold half of it.
Okay, well that's awesome. Sim had another question. Do you restrict yourself to a limited set of music styles that you're really good at, or no? So you do pretty much anything that you're asked to do, that you're capable of doing. Is that right?
Yeah, I've used this before, you know, this example that I look at music like if you and I were hanging out, Aaron, and, you know, it was a Friday night or whatever, instead of working on a car, right? Remember back in the days, guys used to work on cars and stuff?
Yeah.
You and I would just work on music. I look at it like something to do. Instead of watching the Laker game or a hockey game, I look at it like something to do, you know, like it's something that I just want to be involved in. So
that's such a good way of looking at it, Eddie, because I think, tell me what you think, but I feel like sometimes artists take this so seriously.
Yes, too seriously.
Right? That they're like their own worst obstacle. But if you can just look at this as like, this is a fun thing you just like to do, and hopefully you make money from it. And if you do it enough, you probably will. Like when were you able to sort of shift into that mindset?
Well, you got to remember, I was an artist before, right? So I was, and I'm still an artist. But you know what? There's a distinction between somebody who wants to make it as an artist and somebody who's who's not doing that. I don't know. I was so obsessive for so long, and I wanted to succeed, and I wanted to make it. I was all these weird phrases and terms. At the end of the day, I just didn't want to wait anymore. I didn't want to wait for tomorrow or making it or whatever. I just wanted to be happy. And I thought, you guys may have heard the story, but there was a time where I was going to quit, and I just thought, you know what? If I don't make it, I don't care, because I'm doing what I love, and this is my life, and I'm going to live it how I want to live it. I'm not going to let anybody outside dictate how I'm going to live. I'm not going to compare my life and look at people's lives on the internet or magazines or whatever. I just kind of made a decision to shut myself off and have my own values dictate how I'm going to live, and man, as soon as I got there, that's when everything started happening. It was just a matter of like saying, this is my life. This is not anybody else's life, and I'm going to have fun. I'm going to enjoy it. I swear, dude, if I knew you, if we would hang out when we were like teens, we would be playing video games together, right? That's what we would do. But we're grown-ups now, and this is my video game. I just love it, It's just it's a big boy video game,
Yeah, that's so cool. I just feel like there's so many people, and I have friends like this that
Yeah.
love the idea of doing music professionally, but I think they just feel like it's such a lofty goal in their mind, and that it's so hard to get going that they just sort of stay stuck in, everybody's got to pay the bills, so they have a day job they don't really like, and then they come home and they're tired and they have to run errands and have other responsibilities. So I just feel like I empathize with those people, because I was one of those people for a long time.
Yeah.
But you were somehow able to make the shift. So we've talked about this before. It took you several years to kind of get going. Can you address sort of the, for those watching, because everybody's sort of at a different level in terms of their career, can you talk a little bit about how that initial year or two, sort of how you stayed motivated and positive until you built this up to where it is now?
Okay. I think I'll be speaking for a lot of people when I say this. Excuse me. First year, you're pumped up. You realize that it's possible, right? That initial inspiration will not get you to the finish line. In other words, it's going to help you get started. You're going to start looking for leads. You're going to, you're going to be consistent with your networking. You'll be writing music consistently, but at some point, life's going to kick in, and the initial honeymoon stage is going to end. You're going to need two things when you get to that point, when you want to quit. You're going to need external validation. For example, somebody telling you, hey, you're sounding great, or you getting placements where you're like, oh my God, like it's right here in front of me. I literally got a placement, or you hear it on the show. That is going to get you that's going to get you through the next year, 2-3 years. The other thing you're going to need is a community, because when you feel like quitting, they're going to say, dude, you're too good, or like, man, you're getting better. You're getting to that point. You're about to kind of make a breakthrough. Please keep going. And you're going to go, you know what? She has a point. I'm going to keep going. And so those were the two identifying markers that I saw. As soon as I started seeing, it's kind of like going to the gym. You start going and don't really feel a difference. Then you start seeing something and you're like, oh, now I'm really going to keep going. And so when I saw that first placement, oh my God, I lost my mind, man. That sustained me for an extra 3 years. I made like probably 5 cents or 10 cents from it, but the idea that it was possible, it absolutely ignited me. And to this day, I'm still going. And then the other part was I had a friend, when I was about to quit, I called him and I was like, yeah, man, I just, I don't know, man. I think I'm just going to do something else. Or I was thinking of opening up like another business, not related to music. And he said, you know what, man? He's like, if anybody can do it, you can do it. And the way he said it, it was the right timing. You know, I remember it was like 3 o'clock, and I hung up the phone and I just went right to work. And so, yeah, community is super important, really important.
Nice. Do you have any moments of frustration now? I mean, we all have moments of frustration, but do you ever have moments of regret or moments of feeling like, yeah,
dude, I'm so happy. I from the bottom of my heart, and if you guys don't know, you know, on the webinar, it's because of Aaron that I was able to do all this. I just want to be absolutely clear. Aaron and Gary were the catalyst. So I'm having a great time, dude. I mean, you know, writing music for various publishers. This week we were doing some metal tracks, you know, like crazy metal. I just got paid for the Akai samples. Remember I told you I was doing some sample packs for Akai. Just got that royalty check. What else is going on? Well, you know, working on the show for Snapchat. That's cool.
How's that going?
It's cool. It's a different, you know, it's always different. I thought I was going to get into something and it was going to be like a job, you know, standardized. This is the protocol. Everything I've done has been entirely different, whether it's not hearing any feedback for a month and then, you know, getting overloaded at the very end with like 5,000 notes, or, you know, day-to-day, you know, surgical, sterile notes every day. So I'm like letting go now, you know, like I'm not as attached to it all. I'm just having a really good time producing various EPs for a couple different artists. You know, I'm learning Ableton, which I'm really enjoying. I never thought I would work on another DAW. Now I'm starting to, you know, stretch my wings out a bit. I love music, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Nice. I have another question for you. This is Christopher. He asks, hey, Eddie, do you set time limits? This is a good question because I can relate to this. Do you set time limits on completing your mixes? I find myself going down the rabbit hole, often trying to get the mix right, in quotes, and I just end up getting stuck. How do you deal with that? How do you know when the mix is quote unquote good enough?
Christopher, on the chat box, can you tell me what DAW you use? Because that'll help me answer.
And remember, we have a slight delay, so this might.
Okay, well, I'll start answering as okay. Yeah. Okay. Time limit. I don't know if I've ever set like, you know, a timer, but I definitely have a limit. I'll be absolutely clear. If here's a rule of thumb that I use, and this is something I learned from a platinum producer, a guy who actually has, you know, records on the wall. He's a mentor of mine. He basically says, if it doesn't work in 10 to 15 minutes, I'm done. So if he slaps on a phaser, flanger, and he gets an idea going and he's like, yeah, this could be cool, and he's tinkering with it, and then he's like, okay, this flanger's not working, let me try another one out. Oh man, instead of using it on the audio inserts, I'm going to use it as, you know, as a bus. And if it just doesn't work in 10 to 15 minutes, done. Move on to the next thing. And I like that rule because, you know, it kind of forces you to commit to what it is you're trying to accomplish. And at the end of the day, you really have to finish. You know, that's the main thing. We are writing, you know, licensing music, and it does have to end. So if you're writing an artistic song, you know, like something like Adele or something, I could totally understand, you know, going down the wormhole. I read recently that Greg Wells, who tunes Adele's vocals, he takes 2 weeks to tune one song. So you can imagine the painstaking venture of, you know, tuning, you know, the word "the" to, you know, adventure, whatever she's singing, and like making sure everything is working perfectly. 2 weeks. I mean, just on tuning a vocal, you can imagine how long they take on a song. But in this world, you definitely got to finish. So I would put a 10 to 15 minute limit on any ideas or suggestions. Let's say you're writing with somebody and they're like, hey man, how about we add this? And you're like, it's working or it's not working, 10, 15 minutes and cut it.
I feel like maybe part of this too, Eddie, obviously depends on your level of your skill level when it comes to production. You're
Right.
obviously a good producer in the sense that you've learned how to produce music for television. I feel like maybe for some of us, that rabbit hole is much deeper just because our production chops aren't as good. Can you talk a little bit about production as it relates to licensing and how you learned to do this so quickly?
I got to say, there is a deep correlation between being a composer, producer in this market, because you learn how to, what's the proper word? Mimic, copy, write songs in the vein of or sound alikes. And if you take that proposition seriously for 2 years, I guarantee you will be incredible after a serious, amount of time. I mean, it's not going to happen in a week. But if you take songs, and by the way, these can be references sent in from a publisher, doesn't have to be a professional song. But if you take in songs and you drag them into the DAW or use a product like an AV product where you can hear it, and you start to learn how to mimic these songs, and if you take that on as a study, you will get drastically better. You'll start hearing things. Now, if you do that in conjunction with learning the skill that is music production, right? Compression, EQ, learning all the different effects, modulation, spatial effects, the whole 9 yards. Man, those two things together will just absolutely launch you. You'll be so far above, head and shoulders above everybody else, they won't even be able to touch you, because most people are just doing this haphazardly. They don't really know what effects are, don't really understand, proper routing, mixing, mastering. So if you put the study of reference music and the study of production, just, A to Z, how do I learn how to use everything or most things, you're going to be unstoppable.
Awesome. So I wanted to see if anybody has any more questions.
Yeah.
So if you guys have any more questions, please type them into the chat box. In the meantime, Eddie, do you have anything else to add, just sort of in general for those watching this? I know we've done this. We've done a few of these, and we've covered a lot of ground over the course of several webinars and 3 courses now, and there's a lot to talk about, but just anything in general that you want to talk about?
In the future, I want to release another add on to the 60-minute course. But for now, I just want to say that if this has in fact helped you guys, I want to know about it, because if you guys watch the whole 60-minute course, from beginning to end, at the very end, you'll see that I actually practice the course, right? I practice the method, which is quite a hard thing to do, because my left brain's thinking about, the course and, kind of guiding you along. And then my right brain was thinking about music. So it was like an interesting thing to put together. And I was able to put it all together. But I really want to know if this is helping people. I want to know how I can help you. And I want to know what it's going to take for you to get from, here to here, from A to B. Like, what do you guys need? So obviously, feedback is critical in order for us to serve you and to give you the information that you need.
Yeah, and we should also probably mention, Eddie, that Eddie is going to be offering additional services sort of above and beyond the courses that he's already created. And I don't think we're quite ready to announce the specific details, but if you're interested in working with Eddie, stay tuned to the website and we'll let you know how you can do that. Here's another question though for you, Eddie. If I can find it, is it acceptable to use Logic Pro Drummer in tracks for submission?
Totally. If you watch the course, or when you watch the course, you'll see that I have a whole section on Drummer. Man, I could write a song in probably 30 minutes if I use Captain Chords by Mixed In Key and Drummer. One thing that you should know about this program called Captain Chords is, let's say I lay down a fundamental idea, a progression, something simple, just so we can have a conversation. 1, 4, 5, and to the maybe minor third. By the way, this plugin does all this for you. You don't have to think about any of this. Well, the hierarchy goes something like this. You have captain chords at the top. Then there's a secondary plugin that comes with it. It's called Captain Deep, DEEP, and that's the bass software engine that runs with it. So whatever progression you have on captain chords, the bass is going to follow. So I don't even have to write the bass. So if I just throw on captain chords, follow that with Captain Deep, put on drummer, you got a song like right then and there. So you can do things rather quickly now. Drummer is super powerful. Please watch the 60-minute courses. There's some tips and tricks in there for you.
Yeah, if you haven't already, guys, be sure to check that out in the courses page in the members area. Here's another question, Eddie. This might be off topic, but can you explain retitling and how that affects other uses of your songs, as well as how that works with your PRO? Can you address retitling? That's a good question.
Yeah, let's do it. So, retitling, there's the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's talk about the good. You got a track, and let's say it's a really good one. It's like a gem. You want to protect it, and you want to have it for years and years and years. So you give it to somebody else in hopes that they spread it all over the world. Hopefully you get some deals, commercials, back end, et cetera, et cetera. By the way, you can make sync money, upfront money with non-exclusive deals too. I do it all the time. So please get your music out there. That's number one. So the good is you give it away, people retitle it so that there's no confusion. You're not mixing your songs with, publishers, and things that start getting messy. That's where the bad comes in. The bad is, you send a song to somebody, they retitle it, and then two publishers, are kind of swimming in the same pool or working on the same project. Then it's like, well, I thought we got this song from them. It's like, no, we got it from them. Then it's just an administrative nightmare, right? The ugly becomes, when people start fighting over who gets the rights and, who's going to get paid, right? And that can get rather sticky, which is why retitling is an okay idea. There's nothing wrong with it, so long as you're playing by the book, right? If your contract states that they're going to retitle, then cool, go ahead and sign that. But if you're selling your music exclusively to a company, don't retitle that song and send it elsewhere, because that's against the law and that's going to get you in big trouble. So retitling is okay so long as you're transparent. Everybody understands, what everybody understands what the rules are.
So long as everything's above board.
Yeah, let me know if that answers your question. By the way, I'm not sure who asked that, but I want to make sure that we get to all of you.
What do you think is a good ratio? This is my question.
Yeah.
What do you think is a good ratio of exclusive to non-exclusive? If you have 500 songs, how many of them should be exclusive versus not exclusive? Do you have sort of a rule of thumb?
Well, I'll put it to you this way. I have about 50 songs just waiting in line to be pitched exclusively. So I have in my hard drive just a folder, tracks, available for exclusive usage. So that's, a couple of tracks, not too many, but they're there. If I get a deal, somebody says, hey, do you have 10 tracks? Yeah, I actually do. Here you go. Now I still have an additional 40, so it's all good. In my non-exclusive library, I got about 5,000, so that's, I don't know what the mathematics is on that, but it's definitely much higher non-exclusive to exclusive. If you want a number, I'll give you 80-20. I seem to think that works all the time. So 80-20. In other words,
20%.
Yeah. And people will argue with me about this, but non-exclusive to me, what it means to me now is I have my foot in your door. We're homies. We have a relationship, right? I've given you 500 songs so you can go make money for you and me. The exclusive is more of a job. It's more like you're trying to get in somebody's door, and you need some leverage. You need a way to get in. Well, hey man, I've got 20 songs waiting for you. Would you like to link up? Would you like to collaborate? I look at it like a barter. Like, what is it going to take for me to get in your life, like to hang out with you so we can kind of do something together? So Yeah, I think of it as a bartering system.
What should the criteria be for going exclusive? When should you do
Always.
that, and when should you not do that?
Okay. Actually, sorry, I shouldn't have said always. I say 90-10. So here's when not to do it. Somebody puts you on a 3-year exclusive deal where you are required to write music. That's the only time I would never sign anything. Because now it's like, okay, number one, why do I have to write music for you every year, right? What are you getting out of this, right? If they're not paying you up front and you have to write music by law, it doesn't make any sense. If you're getting paid, you have a publishing deal and you are getting paid, it's a stipend that you're going to get every 6 months or whatever it is, then yeah, that's cool, right? Because you're paying me for a service that I have to fulfill on. That's okay. But if you're not paying me for a promise, that doesn't make any sense. So that would be that. Was that a twofold question? Did I answer you?
I think I want to make sure that I follow you there. Are you saying
Okay.
that you should only sign exclusive deals if there's some sort of guaranteed money? Is that kind of
No. You should not ever sign an exclusive deal if you are required by necessity contractually to write songs. Because there are deals out there like that. I've said no to a couple of them where they say, here you go, here's the contract. For 3 years, you have to write me 10 songs a year. It's like, whoa, hold on, man. Like, I don't even know who you are. I don't know what your connections are. I don't know who you're associated with, right? Yeah. Now, here's when you should sign an exclusive contract.
Okay.
You're a bigwig. You're connected to Fox, Sony, Universal. I know it. I've seen your resume. You know, I understand your circle. That's when you want to help, you know, hey, what can I do for you? Like, do you need 5 songs? Do you need 20? You know, that's when you need to be, you need to overextend yourself. But no one's going to ask you to write music for free contractually unless it's weird, shady and weird. Like that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, that's more what I was getting at is when you should, what should the basis for going exclusive with someone be? Should it be based on their track record and their connections and, you know?
Yeah, let me tell you, dude, I've only turned down 2 contracts. I've probably have 60, 70 deals all over the world with various publishers, you know, music houses. Yeah, the only 2 that I turned down were contractual. You have to write music for me. I'm not going to pay you up front. Doesn't make any sense to me, you know.
So are you saying that you'll is the philosophy sort of that you'll work with anyone just based on the potential for getting more?
Personally, I have worked with everybody. Why have I done that? Because if out of 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 publishers, 5 of those are paying me $1,000, $500 a month, that's going to make a difference, you know? So if I have to go through 70, if I have to write songs for 70 different publishers, who cares? I found the 5 that are going to pay me $500 a month, $1,000 a month. That's what I care about, man, is like, where is the money, or forget the money concept, where is the value, right? Who's going to pay me for my time? Who finds me valuable enough, my music valuable enough, you know, where I can find work, you know?
Have you ever been surprised in terms of which companies actually come through and find you the most work? Have there ever been surprises where you think this guy doesn't have anything going on, and they end up being a big player?
Yeah. I got paid a good $18K once off a deal, which I had 0. Yeah, I thought it was going to be. I mean, literally, I said, well, what's the budget? You know, I was like, I'll probably get like $200. And I was like, oh, okay, this is something different altogether. That was a nice one. Those are fun.
What was that for?
That was for another media outlet, similar to the one before, where basically, you know, people are signing on and they're providing content for media creators, you know, filmmakers, YouTube creators, stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Here's another a follow-up to the retitling question.
Okay.
On retitling, so to be safe, retitling is something the composer shouldn't do. This is a question, but publishers.
Oh yeah, no. composers should not do this. This is not your job. This is not what you do. Yeah, this is a publisher issue. In fact, let me write something on the chat. For example, let's just say you have name of song, full, and then whatever, this is my initial. A retitle will look like this. The name of, so in my case, my company is called HF Tracks, and we would probably do something like that, where you put the name of the company. You can distinguish when you look at your PRO registrations. Oh, cool, Eddie got me that placement, or this publisher got me that placement, or what have you. So,
cool. So you put the name of your company right into the title.
That's one methodology that you're going to see, and a lot of it is organization, man. It's just like, how can I distinguish what I did in 2015 to what I'm doing now in 2019, right? Some of it's just like having a system. I've seen, where they'll do HFT, and then they'll do S2, season 2, and then, wherever the song was pitched, like if it was pitched for Born This Way, right? So there are systems that these publishers are using in order to stay organized and understand when did they get that placement, and when did they get that placement? I'll leave it there.
Can you talk about whether or not artists should register their titles before they sign with different companies? Like I had a situation recently where I signed 3 songs to a new publishing company, and then they registered those exact same titles. They didn't change them at all. And then it shows up as a duplicate entry in ASCAP's database. Should you just wait? I mean, at this point, I just kind of wait until I see where the songs are going to be played.
Was that exclusive to the company? I'm just curious.
No, it was a
okay.
It was a non-exclusive, but for some reason they just registered the exact same title, so there was no way for ASCAP to differentiate between their registration and my registration.
You know what? I would probably start doing it differently on your own. Just type in, some type of prefix, and just to avoid situations like that.
Yeah, just maybe my initials or something in the registration title.
Yeah, you're not doing anything wrong. It's just you need clarity and you need organization.
So guys, we have about 8 minutes left. We were planning on going about an hour today. It's 2:52. If you guys have any more questions, or Eddie, if there are any more topics you want to address before we wrap up, now is the time.
I'm just looking through the chat. I think I got to everybody. Presto, Pro Tools, cool. Just real quick to Presto, he was asking about mixing, and we started talking about project alternatives. Yeah, alternative mixes. So what I would do is I would create an alternative mix. Let's say it sounded pretty good, maybe not genius or whatever, but let's just say pretty good. And then I would create an alternative mix, keep working on it, refine it. What I've done sometimes too, if I've needed to hit a deadline, I'll send them the current version of the mix just because don't have any more time. Pitch it to the company. They'll start looking at it internally, start sending any notes that they may have. By that time, I've already, polished, souped up the mix, and it sounds incredible. So that's another option too, is, I get it. Your mix is going to sound better, but don't crush the mix. Don't squeeze the mix, like find that sweet spot, make it sound nice, make it sound polished, and then, let it go.
Excellent. So looking at the chat box as well. Any more questions, guys? If so, speak now or forever hold your peace.
As they're writing, if they do, I just want to make sure that everybody understands that if this course is helping you, if the method is helping you, please tell me what's working. Please tell me what's not working. And I want to hear about your accomplishments. I know I talked to somebody this week, and he's telling me that he's writing faster. He's at about 3-4 hours now per track. So it doesn't matter if you're writing it in 60. This is not a competition. This is about us just being better. So yeah, please let me know, and we'll go from there. So,
awesome. Well, Eddie, thanks so much for doing this. I think we can go ahead and wrap up. It's almost 3 o'clock. Again, like I said, guys, if you want to work with Eddie one-on-one, we're going to be setting up a new coaching program with Eddie where he can kind of hold your hand and walk you through some of this stuff. So I'll be finalizing those details with Eddie this week. I will email you guys individually and let you know if you're interested. And again, check out the courses in the members area that Eddie has created. There's 3 now, 3 or 4. I think 3, right?
3.
Yeah. So really good stuff, Eddie. Thank you so much. It was fun as usual, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, guys. Have a good Sunday.